Hello, this is Ryan Mora, the NSRC Research Assistant from the 2012-2013 year, and I'm going to be showing you how to set up and conduct an NSRC webinar using the Cisco WebEx online software. So what you'll want to do to get to Cisco WebEx is just enter their URL, which is webex.com, www.webex.com. And you're going to click on this little button in the top right-hand corner that says Host a Meeting. From here, there's oddly another step where you then have to go to continue to sign in. And this is where you'll enter Breck's username and password. The password will update about every 3 months. I actually know that the password that's stored in my keychain here is actually not correct, so you might not want to ask it to remember that because Breck is going to change it pretty regularly. It's always capital Aiken and then the month and year that it was changed. So I believe this last one was May 13. But you'll just have to keep a running list of when Breck has to update the password because they have high security and needs turnover about every 3 months or so. So once you're in this web page, this is the meeting center. This is where you can host meetings and click on recorded meetings from the past, which is something you'll want to do afterwards. But mostly the things you're going to need to be looking at are here on the left-hand side. So let's go to schedule a meeting. Now, of course, you're going to be scheduling these many weeks in advance, but for the purposes of this, let's just set the meeting for today. So you can give it a name like NSRC Webinar June 2013. I'll put in here test just in case this does come up and Breck looks at it. And then you'll give it a password. And I normally do, again, just like the login, I just do NSRC and then the month and year. So June 2000, let me do that again. NSRC June 2013. So NSRC June 2013. So we'll schedule this for today. Let's say that the meeting is starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we'd want to actually start it at 1:30 p.m. because that gives you the extra 30 minutes ahead of time to meet with the webinar presenters. And then you'll want to run it for 2 hours because that includes the hour and a half of the actual length of the webinar. Here in attendees, you're actually never going to put the email addresses for the attendees as they RSVP. All you need to do is just put in your own email address. I'll talk about why that is in just a second, but it's basically to avoid any sort of confusion if you make updates to the meeting of when it's scheduled or the length of it. It's going to ask you if you want to send out that new information to all the registered attendees. And there's a way to always just click no, but if you mistakenly forget to do that, then they might get these automated canned responses from Cisco WebEx and they might get confused. So just keep your own name and address in that attendees list. So now you want to check the audio conference. Oh, and one more thing, don't check this box here that says send a copy of the email invitation to me, because me is Breck, and Breck doesn't need to get all this correspondence. He might be confused about that because he uses Cisco WebEx for some of his own meetings as well. So you want to change audio conference. We actually are using WebEx audio. You'll see that there are a couple other things that are options. Other teleconference service, that is what we used to use when we used UVM's own teleconferencing services, but now we use it through WebEx's toll-free call-in number option. This VoIP is another method that we haven't decided to use yet, but it's possible we may want to use it in the future. I think it's called voice integration, and this uses a computer's own microphone and speakers to listen in on the webinar. I think we've avoided doing that right now because some people have challenges with figuring out where their computer's microphone and speakers are, so we have everybody listen to the audio of the conference through a toll-free call-in number. What's real important down here is that you want the entry and exit tone to be none. Otherwise, when people come in and out of the webinar, it would either beep or there was an option here to have them announce their name. You definitely don't want that. So once you have WebEx audio and the box checked for display toll-free number, then also click on no tone. So you click OK. And now you could go to this big blue button on the bottom that says schedule meeting. So now you'll see, you can press OK, and you'll see it listed on your calendar. You can also see it, I think, here by clicking on My Meetings, and we'll show it in a different way. So now let's go back into it. Let's say that you realize you need to make some changes to it. So you can see it says meeting status not started, when the starting date and time is. And you can click here on Edit. And now if you want to make some adjustments, let's say the presenter needed to push it back, half an hour, you can do that. And you can also go to this little hyperlink up here that says Advanced Scheduler, and you can add a little bit more information in on here. The required information there is the meeting topic, which is really the name of the webinar, as well as its password. And then over here on the right-hand side, you can click on date and time. You can look at the audio conference again to make sure everything's good there. Invite attendees. Again, like I said, you don't want to do that. Registration. You don't want to require any sort of attendee registration for this. But now the agenda and welcome, you can write a message here that they'll see as soon as they come into the webinar. So let's do something like, welcome to the NSRC webinar. We will get started shortly. Please make sure you have your phones muted. Thank you. We try to repeat that message as many times as possible about keeping their phones muted, because it can really create a lot of nasty feedback. If you go down to the next one, meeting options, just keep all of this as is, because this allows them to see the chat box, the video box, and notes, and that's fine. There's no need to turn any of that on or off. And again, attendee privileges. You want to let people see who the participant list is, and allow them to be in private chat with the host, presenter, and other participants. We'll see what that means in just a second when we open up the webinar. But there's no problems here. Just keep those boxes checked. And then you can go to the review tab and look at what all this is. This is kind of in a summarized way. But once you get your changes made, again, just click on Save Meeting. And so now this little dialog box comes up anytime you make changes. And it says send updated meeting information to all invited attendees or to no one. So right now it's not much of a problem because you're the only person whose email address is in that attendees list. But still just click send to no one, because you want to get in that habit that you don't need to send these email blasts out all the time you make any little changes. So again, click OK. And then click OK. So now, like I said, normally you'd be scheduling this several months out in advance. And the reason why you do want to do that is because you will be getting an email with the toll-free call-in number listed. There's no other way to actually see what the toll-free call-in number is unless you actually make sure that you get an email yourself as an attendee. And once you do that, you can use that toll-free call number to update the little Microsoft Word login instruction sheet. You'll notice that the email that you get from Cisco WebEx is not the most clearly laid out email, so that's why we just kind of handle it in-house. But once you have sent that email to yourself, you'll see what the toll-free call-in number is, and then you can copy and paste that into the Word document to have people call in from there. But let's say that now it's the day of the webinar. So if you were to have just entered the meeting center, the home page would look like this. And you'll see that you can have this option to start it. You can click it over here, or even if you were to click on the hyperlink, you'll also have the option to start your meeting here. What's odd is you'll see is that even though it is not 1:30 p.m. on Monday, June 3rd, I am going to be able to start the meeting. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up the WebEx, I think it's called the Meeting Center software. If you haven't installed it before, there probably will be another little step here where it just downloads and everything. But since I have installed it on my computer already, it's just going to open up right into the Meeting Center. And this is what other people will see when they are participants as well. So this little prompt will come up with the audio conference. And again, it will tell them to call into the meeting, call this number. What's a little frustrating is that we want everybody to use the call-free toll-in number here, which we give them ahead of time beforehand, but it will always display the call-in toll number as well. There's really no option. I've checked with the people with Cisco WebEx to not have that show up, but luckily the toll-free call-in number is first, and we've already sent them an email that gives them that toll-free call-in number. They'll have to enter an access code here. It's a long number. And then they have their attendee ID number. And we'll encourage them to use that because then the Cisco WebEx software will know which person's name that is viewing the webinar through the software is connected to who is listening in on the audio conference, because it'll give everybody a unique attendee ID number. So make sure you tell them to type in whatever their attendee ID number is given. It's possible that if they call in ahead of time before doing the audio conference, or I'm sorry, if they call in on the teleconference beforehand, before opening up the meeting center, they might not get this dialog box and they might not know what their attendee ID number is. So we'll encourage them with the step-by-step protocol to first sign into the meeting center and then join the audio conference. I'm not going to call in right now because it's just not necessary for this. But you'll close this out, and then over here on the right-hand side is where you'll start to see people come in to the meeting. You'll be on ahead of time with the presenters, and if their name pops up, what you want to do is you want to be able to give them the permission to share their desktop, because that is ultimately how they are going to be showing the presentation. They don't upload the presentation to the web or anything like that. They just share their desktop. And so it's always a good reminder to make sure they have their desktop cleaned up as much as possible, not a lot of programs running, because that'll allow the software to go much smoother. And the way that you're going to be able to give them that permission is dragging this blue and green ball to their name. If there were a name below, I could drag it and then just plop it right into that cell where their name would be. You can see there's a little slash arrow, slash symbol right there because there's no other participants right now. But all you would do is you would pass that blue and green ball to them, and they would then become the presenter. William Bowden or Breck will always be the host, but the presenter can change. And once you change the presenter, you'll notice that all these little icons here, invite, remind, or share my desktop, will be grayed out because you will no longer be the host, so you no longer have, or you'll no longer be the presenter, so you'll no longer have the ability to share their desktop. If during the meeting you want to send a message to somebody, you can go down to this bottom corner here and send a message either to everyone, or it will say to the presenter, or to just a private particular person. You can choose which participant you'd want to send it to. But normally to begin with, I just send a message out to everyone that says, welcome to the NSRC webinar. We will get started shortly. And then again, please remember to have your phones muted. Thanks. We try to hammer that home as much as possible. And when you send that message, everyone else who has their chat box open will see that. Probably by this point in time, once you've got the presenter on board and you've got the participants on board, Breck will be handling all of this. But in case Breck can't make it there, we want to go through what the next steps are, which are first, give the presentation control over to the presenters, and then you'll just want to hit record. You'll see this little recording dialog going in the bottom, and that's all you need to do. In the past, when we were using an external UVM teleconference system, the recorder would have to call in to the teleconferencing service. But now that we're using WebEx's own teleconferencing toll-free call-in number, it just goes with one click right into it and we'll start recording. And I suggest getting that going earlier because you can always edit out the beginning portion later on. So let's say the whole webinar happened and now you're ready to end the meeting. So just hit stop on the recording device. And again, we'll say, are you sure you want to do this? So just hit yes, stop recording. And then when the meeting is all done, you can click down here in the bottom that says end meeting. And you'll want to save the meeting files, maybe to just some, I think it has some sort of default folder on your desktop, and that is fine. Click end meeting. And it will bring you back out. Now, if you want to go look over to the side where My Recorded Meetings occurs, you won't see the recording pop up for about another 15 minutes or so. You can see we had some older ones here. The last one was on May 31st, but the meeting that you just recorded won't be able to pop up for about another 15 or 20 minutes. But when you're ready to download it, in order to make a video recording of it and put it up on the NSRC Vimeo webpage, you'll just go over here and you can click download. If you were to click it here, this would just play it in the web browser, or you would email it to yourself, but that's not necessary. The best thing to do is just download it to your desktop when you're ready to go. And so that is the process for setting up a NSRC webinar using Cisco WebEx. Just as a reminder, there is a whole Microsoft Word document outlining this whole process in even greater detail, but I wanted to give you a tutorial here visually to complement that. So enjoy the process. Good luck.